Preparing our dragon series by standing on the knees. Step the left foot forward into a lunge shape. We want the heel far enough forward that the knee finishes over the heel. The hands move down under the shoulders, and it's a very easy position. The right leg has a natural internal rotation here. And then we begin to sink and settle forward. We want to maintain neutral through the lumbar spine. Anytime we're lunging, there's a tend to overextend the low back. So perhaps a little engagement through the gluteals just to feel that natural sinking. As the body begins to unwind, of course, the lunge shape will also deepen. Here we're leaning into the pose, and then we're feeling the loading along the tissues of the front of the thigh, the quadriceps up into the hip flexors. The left knee is naturally moving outward. You can place the left hand on top of the foot just so the toe does not lift up. The eyes close, and then we're allowing this natural sinking, this heaviness through the hips. As the body continues to sink downward, you'll notice a natural unwinding of the posture. Take your time with this. The posture happens not by force, but by allowing the force to move through you. As you naturally release from one shape, notice how the next shape begins to evolve. You feel new tissues being loaded up into the pattern. Here, we're not thinking about stretching as much as we're thinking of loading. That loading indicates that we have sensation, we have the flow of spiritual energy moving through the body. The breath is naturally deep, but it's a passive breath. We do not need to force the breathing. We simply observe how the breath flows. Transitioning for our twisting dragon. Here we use the left hand to guide the left knee outward more. In this pattern, we're going to start to feel how we begin to load more of the outer right hip along the IT band. And you're going to feel how the left outer hip is becoming more loaded. Very similar to the sensation of a pigeon stretch, we can feel the outer hip around the piriformis and deep hip rotators. According to yoga philosophy, our vital centers, the Ida and Pingala channels, originate at the sitting bones. So in yoga, there are many postures that are related to working within the deep hip. Can you feel that you can breathe down into that sitting bone? Of course, we don't have lungs in our sitting bones, so we're not actually breathing there. But still, there's a deep connection from the breath to the sitting bone. Instead of breathing through the nostrils, we seem to breathe through the sitting bones. Periodically, you'll feel the natural unwinding of the body, and then you'll start to open a little bit more. So one shape becomes the next shape. What's really nice in the restore practice is that we don't have a formal asana here. We instead create much more of a natural, organic shaping of the body. Finally, we'll rotate all the way onto the right side. Here we move into the dragon's tail. The right leg, the extended leg now, is our tail, and we turn the head to gaze down along the tail. You can keep the eyes closed. As you rest upon the right hand, feel that you're naturally loading up the right side outer seam of the body, the IT band, into the right waist. Many tissues are involved here, including the obliques, the latissimus, and the muscles along the side body. Additionally, you feel that continued loading along the outer left hip. And then notice how the breath changes. we have this continued theme that changing shape changes the breath. The tissues of the outer seam of the body are tight by nature. These are important stabilizing structures in the body. So often there is some pain or discomfort associated here. But notice by awareness, breathing, and allowing that these tissue structures naturally begin to unwind. Releasing in the reverse order, we return to our kneeling position, preparing for the other side. Stepping the right leg forward. Again, adjust the foot far enough forward that the knee finishes out over the heel. Hands under shoulders, you can keep the right hand on top of the foot. That creates a nice way to press down through the big toe. As the knee starts to open out, usually the big toe will begin to lift. So we have just a sense of grounding there through our foot structure. Then, as you organize into the position, the left leg will naturally get a little longer. This allows you to more deeply sink down through the hips. It's very subtle, but notice when you inhale how there's a natural rising of the body. It's similar to floating in the pool, how you seem to float up to the surface of the water. In the exhale, there's a natural sinking. You feel heavy, you seem to sink down, deeper, unwinding deeper and deeper. Really, there's no ends to these poses. We find an in range, and then without trying, we deepen again. Finishing out your last breath cycle here. And then through the natural process, we change. Starting to turn the foot out slightly, rotating the body a little more, and then the right hand will guide the right knee outward. As you start to turn into your twisting dragon, you can feel how you load up the outer right hip. This feels very much like the pigeon stretch. And then we start to feel more movement along the outer seam of the left side body. You can keep the eyes closed here. We're just softly breathing. We're meditating deeply on the field of sensation that is the body. Really, the body is the ideal focal point for our meditation. We all have a body, and it allows us something that is universal to focus on. Meditating on the mind itself can be very slippery. The mind is subtle and not easily grasped. Even breath awareness can be challenging. Normally, if we have an attention span of just a few breaths, it's a huge success. But the body is something that we can really stay focused on, especially in these deep postures where we're feeling the loading of the tissues, the deep stretching and unwinding. It's very easy to keep the focus on the body and on the sensation. As we transition into the final layer of the dragon series, the dragon's tail, and we begin to turn enough to get the outer left leg on the mat, loading up the IT band. And now the body is really rich with sensation. We feel that really strong sensation along the outer seam of the body. And so it becomes really easy to focus on this area. If it's a little uncomfortable in the beginning, which is normal, then you can consider that to be an invitation back into the body. Little discomfort immediately grounds us into the present moment. So take a moment to observe that sensation. You might even say to yourself, wow, this is sensational. I am really feeling the sensation of this. Truly sensational. And then notice how it transforms. What is on the other side of that? Perhaps what I initially identified as some discomfort is a type of sweet pain. It's like a very deep massage from the inside out. Although a little uncomfortable in the beginning, I can feel the natural therapeutic value. And then, like a big exhale, we seem to deepen again. Slowly, we'll release out of our Dragon series. As you settle back, take a moment to notice the after effect.